Okay, let's continue on with In Convention, Monday, September 17th, 1787. All right, so this is what we're doing right now here. Okay. Present the states of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Mr. Hamilton from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Resolved that the preceding Constitution be laid before the United States and Congress assembled, and that it is the opinion of this convention that it should afterwards be submitted to a convention of delegates, chosen in each state by the people thereof, under the recommendation of its legislature for their assent and ratification, and that each convention assenting to and ratifying the same should give notice thereof to the United States and Congress assembled. Resolved that it is the opinion of this convention that as soon as the conventions of 9 states shall have ratified this Constitution, the United States and Congress assembled should fix a day on which electors should be appointed by the states which shall have ratified the same, and a day on which the electors should assemble to vote for the president, and the time and place for commencing proceedings under this Constitution. That after such publication the electors should be appointed and the senators and representatives elected, that the electors should meet on the day fixed for the election of the president and should transmit their votes, certified, sealed, and directed, as the Constitution requires, to the Secretary of the United States and Congress assembled. The senators and representatives should convene at the time and place assigned. That the senators should appoint the president of the Senate for the sole purpose of receiving, opening, and counting the votes for president. It's a secretary. And that after he shall be chosen, the Congress, together with the president, should, without delay, proceed to execute this Constitution by the unanimous order of the convention, George Washington, president, and W. Jackson, secretary. What is Jackson's first name? I do not know. Okay. So let's just move on to what comes next. Congress of the United States, begun and held at the city of New York on Wednesday, the 4th of March, 1789. So 3/4/1789. All right, March 4th, 1789. It's like translating words into fucking numbers. It's just it just takes extra time. Okay. The conventions of a number of the states having, at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction. Expressed a what the okay. In order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring, that the following articles be proposed to the legislatures of the several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of the said legislatures, to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution, viz. Like, I don't know, VIZ. Articles in addition to and amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislatures of the several states pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution. Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House of Representatives. John Adams, Vice President of the United States and President of the Senate. Test. John Beckley, Clerk of the House of Representatives. Sam A. Otis, Secretary of Senate. All right. Can you see it? Okay. Amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia. Okay. This one is so important because everybody just wants to bring this up. Do you have a well-regulated militia amongst you and your friends who are like, for anybody who wants to own a gun or like shoot guns or whatever, why would you be opposed to a well-regulated militia. That's like what the military is. And I will tell you from being in the military, we do not have access to our guns unless we go through all this paperwork and all this different stuff. And it's like, even in war zones, you usually don't walk around with the gun loaded. Okay. And we happen to be one of the only camps that were doing that because it was such a big camp and we were so close to the cities or like the population around there. And we had local nationals like working on the camp, and they were saying that the problems were being caused by the local nationals working on the camps. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever. So, Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay. So it doesn't just mean like any child should have these like weapons of mass destruction that they can bring into high school. It means that you guys should be part of gun clubs if you want to shoot guns, okay? And like, just know, like, you want militias and you want to have your guns, have neighborhood militias, all right? Like, that's what they're saying here, but it's not like you can't just say the Second Amendment and think that that covers all things. Amendment 3. Oh, and matter of fact, it's like in the military, a lot of people are scared of their guns because it's not because that we are scared and we don't know what we're doing. It's because like the leadership and the rules of how things are, it's like they make you so scared of having your gun because you can go outside the wire on a mission, come back in, and you go to a clearing barrel and you like have to clear your weapon to make sure that there's no rounds in the chamber, right? It's that you don't have the gun loaded before you walk into like a dining facility or something. If you have if you have a bullet go off in the clearing barrel, holy shit, like they're not like, good job, I'm glad that you cleared it out before you got in. It's almost like you got to do paperwork, you have to do all this stuff. And so that's a lot of times why we have like friendly fire incidents and things like that, because we're just not used to treating the gun as if it's loaded. Because most times, even though they tell you to do that, most times you like if your gun is loaded and it's found out that it's loaded, you get in big trouble for that. Okay, so I want you to know the behind the scenes of what really goes on, that our well-trained militias are still trained to be scared of those weapons. I won't get more into it right now. Okay, so Amendment 3, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable causes, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly described to the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be the witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Double Jeopardy is one of my favorite movies because it was in New Orleans, and I just think that the concept is so karmic. So karmic. Okay. That's what, it's like so well balanced. And anybody who's been through situations like that, and I'm not talking about like the legitimate, literal situation, I'm talking about where you feel like what the girl goes through. What is her name? Judd. Ashley Judd. I think she's like one of the sisters. But yeah, anyway, if you haven't seen it, go see it. I mean, you can't go to see it, but it's, you should watch it. Okay. Amendment 5. Did I just read that? Is that the one that yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. There's a train going by, but I realize even though I like think every time to turn off the video, it never picks up and the only thing that picks up is my volume increasing. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. Amendment 7. In suits at common law, in suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Amendment 8. 8, yes. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Amendment 11. The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. Amendment 12. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. So it's such an obscure way of saying something. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots, the person voted for as vice president. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and all persons. It's not even, I'm not repeating myself. Okay. And of the all persons voted for as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which lists they shall sign and certify and transmit, sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if no persons have such majority, then from the persons having the highest numbers not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president, the House of Representatives shall choose immediately by ballot the president. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. And if the House of Representatives shall not choose a president whenever the right of the choice shall devolve upon them before the 4th day of March next following, then the vice president shall act as president. As in the case of the death or other constitutional disability of the president, the person having the greatest number of votes as president shall be the vice president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed. And if no person have a majority, then from the 2 highest numbers on the list, the Senate shall choose the vice president. A quorum for the purpose shall consist of 2/3 of the whole number of senators, and a majority of the whole number shall be necessary to a choice. But no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. Amendment 13, Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Section 2. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state. Sorry, I just thought I heard a cat scream. All right. is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. The Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. So I am like, good thing I wasn't a rebel before. You see that truck that just went by on the tracks? It's like got metal wheels to where it can ride the rails. It's a strange sound. But anyway, Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Section 5. The Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Amendment 15. Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude, unless you're a rebel, right? Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 16. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportion among the several states and without regard to any consensus or enumeration. That includes your gambling wins and your, all that jazz. If you earn tips. So I certainly hope, since everybody's like requesting tips now for every single thing that they do, whether or not they deserve it. It's like everywhere that you go, they're like, "Do you want a tip?" It's like, no. Why would I be tipping just for the person doing their job? Though at like what is it, Five Guys? I feel like they're just good at doing their job, so I don't mind offering tips. But anyway, I don't spend my money out in this world much anyway. But yeah, I sure do hope that they are all claiming their tips and being taxed on it. Mm-hmm. Congress shall have power to lay and collect on, blah, 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 without regard to any consensus or enumeration. Amendment 17. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years. Each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures. When when vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election, as the legislature may direct. This amendment shall not be so construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution. Amendment 18. Section 1. After 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within, the importation thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States, and all territory subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. Section 2. The Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Section 3. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of the several states as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of the submission hereof to the states by the Congress. Amendment 19. The right of citizen. Sorry, I was just trying to make sure that it was actually 19. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Amendment 20. Let me see. Okay. Hold up. I'm going to take a cigarette break. Mhm. Okay. Amendment 20, Section 1. The terms of the President and Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of Senators and Representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January. Of the years in which such terms have ended, if this article had not been ratified, and the terms of their successors shall then begin. Section 2. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meetings shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Section 3. If at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the president-elect shall have died, the vice president-elect shall become president. If a president shall not have been chosen before this time fixed for the beginning of his term, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify, then the vice president-elect shall act as president until a president shall have qualified. And the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a president-elect nor a vice president-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as president, or the manner in which one who is to act shall be selected. And such person shall act accordingly until a president or vice president shall have qualified. Section 4. Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons for whom the House of Representatives may choose a president, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them, and for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the Senate may choose a vice president, whenever the right of choice shall have devolved upon them. Section 5. Sections 1 and 2 shall take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. I am like so bored of reading right now. Okay, this is what happens. We're almost done, I think. We have just like a few more pages. Section 6. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission. Amendment 21. Section 1. The 18th article of amendment to the Constitution of the United States is hereby repealed. Section 2. The transportation or importation into any state, territory, or possession of the United States for delivery or use therein of intoxicating liquors in violation of the laws thereof is hereby prohibited. Okay. Section 3. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by conventions in the several states, as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of the submission hereof to the states by the Congress. Amendment 22, Section 1. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by Congress, and shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. Section 2. This article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures. I don't know why. My brain just saw that as nightmares. But legislatures of 3/4 of the several states within 7 years from the date of its submission to the states by the Congress. Amendment 23. Section 1. The district constituting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as the Congress may direct a number of electors of president and vice president equal to the number of senators and representatives in Congress to which the district would be entitled if it were a state, but in no event more than the least populous state. Shall be in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purposes of the election of president and vice president to be electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. And it lists all the dates when they were ratified. So maybe after I'm done reading these, I'll go back and like just list those dates. Amendment 24, Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary or other election for president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or representative in Congress, shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reason of failure to pay any poll tax or other tax. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. At this point, I just have to see how many more pages, like 2 more pages. Okay. Amendment 25. Section 1. In the case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Section 2. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress. Section 3. Whenever the president transmits the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives has written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. Amendment 25. Oh, I was already reading that. Sorry, Section 4. Whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office, unless the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit within 4 days to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers of duties of his office. Good Lord, that is a long sentence. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session. I'm just going to bring up 48 hours is like some sort of critical factor, like the show 48 Hours of like when they're trying to solve a crime. It's almost like after 48 hours, everything wanes. The passion into which to do something wanes after 48 hours of the initial onset of that like passionate feeling of like, I want to do something, right? Like to fix it. So there's something very important about 48 hours. And I guarantee you, it's like, if you're trying to do something, don't ever take a break from it for more than 2 days, because it is so much harder to like, you're restarting over again. Okay. Thereupon, I don't even know. Okay. Thereafter, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session. If the Congress, within 21 days after receipt of the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session, within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote of both houses that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall continue to discharge the same as acting President. Otherwise, the President shall resume the powers and duties of his office. Amendment 26. Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Last one, you ready? Amendment 27. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. All right, and then here's just some quotes. There is no institution that person for person, dollar for dollar, idea for idea has been ever so close, has been even close to the Cato Institute in advancing fundamental principles. All right, yeah, they're just bragging about themselves. Thanks to the work of the Cato Institute, blah, blah, blah. So, what I'm interested in is like the dates of these amendments and when they were made. I don't really feel like reading them right now. But what I really want to do is go back and find out what was going on at that time. Because what I had found when I was in high school or when I was in college, like, I was never good at remembering. Oh, it was 30/30 when I just looked at it. I had a real hard time remembering historical knowledge that I was just like reading from or like listening to because it didn't have things associated with it for me to absorb it in a more 360-degree way of observation. Okay. So when I realized this like all throughout school, and because there were certain things that appealed to me, and that was like global history, that was like ancient history, myths, like mythology, um, Egypt, things like that. But then once I got into college and I took an art history class, it was so much easier for me to understand what was going on at that time when you watch like the art, when you see the art that is like representative of what people were going through. It's like if you listen to the music, to the art, to the poetry, all these forms of like that comes from. I'll talk about like the energy centers of the body in a future video because what that comes from is the sacral energy center, and that is like where the womb is, like where the baby making parts of us are, right? And that's because that's where creation happens, and the color is represented by orange. So I'm giving you like a little insight into it right now. But what's so important is like I'll just wait to talk about that because yeah, because it takes some time so we can like talk about it. All right. So I'm just going to leave it off at that. I'm so happy we finished another book. It was a little one. And it's also probably like the rules of our country of how they were established are smaller than like the instruction manual on your cell phone. It's like every time you sign up for an app and you agree to all these different things, it's like all the rules of the app are like more intense than the rules of our country. Okay. Do you think that we really need all those? Is anybody really, you know the truth of all this stuff. Okay. We just like check the box. That's why you should actually watch I mentioned it before in a video that I made that was called Dale is Awful. And there is like this on Black Mirror on Netflix, the show Black Mirror. There is an episode called Joan is Awful. Okay. And it's so awesome. There's like fluffies in my hair. Um, it's so awesome because it has to do with this. It has to do with all these things that you just like erroneously sign and agree to because you want to use that app. Okay. So we'll talk about it another time. All right. I love you. Bye.